When you think about AI, a few huge names probably pop into your head, right? They seem to hold all the cards. But what if an open source project, one driven by the community, could actually change the game? Well, that's what we're diving into today with a project called MiroThinker. And this thing isn't just trying to compete, it's trying to rewrite the entire rulebook for the AI research race.
So, that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Can a collaborative, open-source effort truly rival the deep pockets and massive research power of giants like OpenAI and Gemini? I mean, we're talking about a classic David versus Goliath story here. And MiroThinker? It's stepping right up to the plate, slingshot in hand.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal, we've got to understand the battlefield. And yeah, it really is a David versus Goliath situation. You've got the decentralized, global, open-source community on one side, and on the other, the massive, centralized power of these incredibly well-funded commercial labs.
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of the whole philosophical divide. On one side, you have the commercial giants. We're talking closed models, massive resources, all aimed at commercial leadership. Then you've got the open source community. They're all about collaboration, transparency, and this idea that powerful AI should be accessible to everyone. The big question has always been, right? Can passion and teamwork actually out-innovate a blank check?
And that is exactly where MiroThinker comes into the picture. It's the new contender, born from that exact open-source philosophy, stepping right into the ring.
So what is MiroThinker exactly? Well, at its core, it's an open-source AI model, but it's built to act like a brilliant researcher. And the key thing here is it's not just thinking in a vacuum. It's built for what's called tool-augmented reasoning. Okay, think of it like this. Imagine a brilliant detective who doesn't just have a great mind, but also has a full forensics kit, web search, code interpreters, you name it, to actively go out, find clues, and solve problems in the real world. That's MiroThinker.
And here's the thing. This isn't just some one-off model they've thrown out into the wild. No, the team has built an entire ecosystem around it. You've got MiroThinker, the model itself, MiroFlow, which is the framework that makes it run, Miroverse, a huge premium dataset for training, and then MiroTrain, the whole infrastructure to pull it all together. This is a serious end-to-end effort to level the playing field.
But, okay, this brings us to the billion-dollar question, right? How can it possibly compete? I mean, if you can't win by outspending the other guy, you have to outsmart them. And that brings us to MiroThinker's secret weapon.
For a while now, the AI race has basically been about two things: making the models bigger and giving them longer context windows so they can remember more stuff. But what if there's another way? How do you get an edge when you just can't win on size alone?
Well, the answer is this really cool approach they're calling interactive scaling. So instead of just making the AI's brain bigger or its memory longer, they're scaling up its ability to interact with its environment. It's kind of like teaching a student. You don't just want them to memorize more facts, you want them to get better at asking questions, running experiments, and actually learning from the feedback they get. That's the core idea.
And this is a great way to picture it. For years, we've thought about AI improvement in two dimensions: model size and context length. What MiroThinker does is add a third dimension: interactive depth. It's a totally new axis for making these models better, and it's all about focusing on how smart they work, not just how big they are. It's a game changer.
So how does this work in practice? Well, it's a really simple but powerful loop. First, the AI interacts with a tool, like it runs a web search. Then it gets feedback and information back from that tool. And finally, it uses that new info to refine its plan and, this is the crucial part, to correct any mistakes it might have made. It's literally learning by doing, over and over again.
Okay, so the theory sounds pretty elegant, right? But does it actually work? That's what really matters. So let's look at the numbers. Let's see how this new approach actually performs when it's put to the test on some serious benchmarks.
First off, just look at the momentum here. The project went fully open source in August 2025. By November, they'd already introduced this interactive scaling concept. And then, just 2 months later, in January 2026, version 1.5 comes out, and they're claiming it's a world-leading open-source search agent. I mean, in the AI world, that is moving at absolute light speed.
And honestly, the results kind of speak for themselves. On several of these really tough benchmarks that are designed to test complex research and reasoning skills, things like HLL, BrowseComp, and Gaia, MiroThinker v1.5 isn't just getting a little better, it's posting state-of-the-art scores for open-source models. It's setting a whole new high watermark.
This quote from the release really puts it all in perspective.
They say that MiroThinker v1.5 surpasses Kimi 2 thinking on Browsecom ZH at a much lower cost. So they're not just matching other models, they're actually beating established commercial competitors on really difficult tasks. And they're doing it way more efficiently.
And this is the number that should make everyone sit up and take notice. 1/30th. So to put this in perspective, AI models are measured in parameters. The more parameters, the bigger and more expensive the model is to run. The 30 billion parameter version of MiroThinker beat its competitor while being 30 times smaller. That isn't just an improvement, that's a whole paradigm shift in efficiency. It's doing so much more with dramatically less.
You know, maybe the most powerful part of this whole story is how accessible it is. Because it's open source, you don't have to be some giant corporation to get your hands on it. In fact, getting it up and running on your own machine is surprisingly straightforward.
Seriously, they made the process super simple. You just clone the repository, run one command to set up the whole environment, and then you just have to pop your API keys into the config file. That's it. You're basically ready to go.
And get this, you don't need a dozen different paid services to get this thing off the ground. The minimal setup only needs 3 core API keys, one for search, one for scraping web pages, and one for running code. That is literally all you need to unlock its core research powers.
So once you're all set up, you just start the model server, edit a single file with your question, and run the script. The agent just takes over from there, using all its tools to find the answer for you. It's designed to be that straightforward, putting some really powerful research tools into anybody's hands.
So this all brings us back to that big question we started with. MiroThinker has proven that by focusing on smarter interaction instead of just brute force size, an open source project can hit world-class performance and incredible efficiency. So, could this be the blueprint? Is interactive scaling the secret sauce that finally lets the open source community not just compete with the giants, but maybe even lead the great AI research race? I mean, the answer to that question could really define the entire future of AI.